this imperialist flurry that we have going on here, the Philippines, after the war with Spain, they really wanted full independence, but the United States government knew that they were not any way, shape, or form prepared to run their own governmental system. And we had a little bit of monetary interest there too, so we weren't about to let them go. So full independence is not going to happen for them, and they are not happy. So Emilio Aguinaldo, remember, he was the one that helped the American forces overthrow Spain to begin with. Well, he's back, and he leads an insurrection against the United States in 1899. So we have to go to war with the Philippines. Here's the problem. That war with Spain was a nice, short, splendid little war. This one's not going to be. This one lasts longer. It lasts a couple of years. It's deadlier. It's more scandalous. It's not pretty. We engage the Filipinos in guerrilla warfare, which is really, really an ugly form of warfare. It's very deadly. It's very costly. And William Howard Taft, he is sent to the Philippines to lead an appeasement mission to sort of settle the Filipinos down and see what he can work out. And he manages to do that. It takes some time and some doing, but he manages to sort of chill them out and get them to sort of play the game with us. They do not receive independence until 1946. This does not mean that they live 50 years with us in happy, happy, joy, joy land. That doesn't happen. They're still rambunctious. They wanted their independence. They would want it up until 1946 when we finally grant it. Now, China, remember, that was sliced and diced like a pie. Everybody had a piece and a sphere of influence in China. Russia, Great Britain, Germany, Japan, France, everybody. They all had markets there where it was very profitable for them to grab natural resources from China, use China as a market to sell their finished goods. China was a very valuable investment for countries to make. In 1899, John Hay, the United States sort of realizes that they've been left out of this game in China, and we didn't have a piece of the pie. So John Hay tries to rectify that. He goes to China and he proposes the open door notes. And what those open door notes call for is respecting spheres of influence within China, that everybody would respect each other's. We would respect Chinese rights, and we would have fair competition. Now, all of the countries say, Great Britain, Germany, Japan, France, everybody says, I'm on board. I'll do this, as long as everybody else will. Well, there's a hang-up. So everybody but Russia accepts the terms. Russia declines and says, no, I'm not playing that game. Well, that's going to throw everybody else out of the game too. So Hay lies about Russia's involvement and says, oh yeah, they're on board. I don't know what you're talking about. They're good with this. In 1900, Chinese are going to rebel. They're going to have the Boxer Rebellion, which is a pretty big deal. The patriotic Chinese are going to rebel against the European influence, and they were very, very protective of Chinese rights, economic and political rights against Europe, and they really felt Europe was taking advantage of them. So they killed 200 white Europeans in the process. There were some Americans killed here as well. Everyone sends in troops. France, Germany, Great Britain, Russia, everybody sends in troops, including the United States. China finally realizes that they can't really fight against all these countries at the same time. They just don't have the army to do it. So they pay $333 million in reparations to all of these countries. That's a huge sum of money for China to come up with. So John Hay is back. He's going to issue a new open door note. And this one calls for respecting territorial and commercial integrity in China. That everybody should respect each other and sort of back off and take a breath. Now in 1900, we have another presidential election. It ends with a 0, so you know this isn't going to work out well for the president here. So the Republicans nominate McKinley again. He was the president since 1896. He had done a good job. He won, a war with Spain. Everything was hunky-dory here. And things were going well in China, and so why not have McKinley back again? His vice president is changed up, though. They wanted His vice president wanted to resign and live a happy life, and Theodore Roosevelt is placed up for nomination for vice president. Now, this is sort of a contentious issue because the vice president doesn't really have a big job as far as doing a lot of things and being influential, and that's really not what Teddy Roosevelt wanted. He was a go-getter. He was an action guy. He wanted to be involved. He was an adventurist. He was also a loudmouth and overly confident, very arrogant. And so the Republican Party basically said, where can we stick him that he can't do any damage? Oh, let's make him vice president. Yeah, that's a good idea. So they make him vice president, hoping to keep him satisfied that he has, he's second to the top in the country, but keep him quiet at the same time. The Democrats are going to go with William Jennings Bryan again, and he's 40 years old at this point. He's going to go with the silver platform. Of course they're going to go with the silver platform. It's William Jennings Bryan. He doesn't give a big speech like he did in the last election, but he definitely gets up there and champions that silver platform. McKinley wins. It really wasn't even a tight election. McKinley just flat out wins. And what this tells us is the country is ready for prosperity and protection. So that was his mantra. Okay? Let's make some money and protect ourselves in the process. Now, here's the problem. 6 months into his second term, McKinley is assassinated. I told you that his term ended with a 0, so you knew something bad was going to happen. So McKinley is assassinated, and he's assassinated by this guy, Leon Chagals. Now, Leon Chagals shoots McKinley at the Pan American Exhibition, and McKinley dies. Teddy Roosevelt becomes president. This is sort of the Republicans' worst nightmare. They didn't want this to happen at all. But Teddy Roosevelt, true to form, stays true to McKinley's platform. He doesn't really go in and try and shake things up right away, not in this term as president. He sort of plays it cool and says, hey, I'm a Republican. I'm going to stick with McKinley's platform and go with what he had established. But remember that Teddy Roosevelt is extremely confident. He's the youngest man to ever take the office of president in our country. Kennedy is the youngest elected. Teddy Roosevelt is the youngest president. There's a difference. The common people in America love Teddy Roosevelt. I mean, for goodness sake, we named the teddy bear after him. But he does get a reputation for sort of ignoring the Constitution and rights of people occasionally. And he also sort of ignores Congress. He sort of tosses them aside as well. He's got a little Andrew Jackson in him, doesn't he?